let's look at the kind of choices that you would make in your life, how you talk to yourself, how you talk to others, how do you respond in tumultuous circumstances. Let's look at all the action steps that in a perfect world you envision yourself being able to make. Let's look at that like an emotional bank account. I'm going to give you a really interesting analogy. And like a regular bank account, an emotional bank account, the action steps you want to take to earn your own respect, to make you feel like you're the embodiment of the teachings that you admire, that make you more of who you are trying to become in this path of expansion and evolution, that make you feel like you're leading the way as a pioneer of ascension, the kind of choices that you want to make are checks that are written from your emotional bank account. And so your intuition says, here are the choices I'm bound to make. But when you exhaust yourself, berate yourself, and you can't seem to figure out how to make those choices, it's because you're trying to write a check that is more than the amount in your emotional bank account, and so you overdraw the account. Does that make sense? Whenever someone does not feel good about themselves, it's an overdrawn account. And so what we do is we look at every time we give ourselves a compliment, we're making a deposit in our emotional bank account. And every time you make a deposit in your emotional bank account, you are elevating the balance to inevitably allow you to write the kind of checks that make the kind of choices that your account can handle. Does that make sense? And when you write a check that overdraws your account, the feeling emotionally is feeling bad about yourself. And let's say your account is really in the negative, really in, a deficiency. Just like a regular bank, every day that you don't clear that account and take it out of the negative, more fees get added. Just like emotionally, we feel worse and worse and worse because that account is just building up fees. And then someone in my position says, well, if you felt better about yourself and loved yourself, you would, that would help things. And then people say, see if this resonates with you, I try saying that I love yous or complimenting myself, but it doesn't feel authentic. It feels like I'm kind of lying to myself, or feels like I'm kind of pretending. Do you know why that is? Because what happens is every time you deposit a compliment into your emotional bank account, you're taking your balance from negative to less negative. And your subconscious mind is saying, because that has not taken us completely out of the negative, that must not be true. So when you're doing I love yous or something nice towards yourself and it feels inauthentic, it means you're helping to take yourself out of the negative emotional balance, but you still haven't gotten to zero yet. And the metaphor of being zero at your account or just not negative is creating a new 0 point in your subconscious mind. So it's not that this is inauthentic, it's that the subconscious mind basically says to you, yeah, that's nice that deposit has taken you from negative to less negative, but it hasn't taken you completely out of the red zone. So because it hasn't taken you out of the red zone, the subconscious mind goes inauthentic, false. Does that make sense? But what we have to learn is that's okay, because that's giving us feedback about our subconscious mind in the process we are in to rewrite it. We're not here to escape conditioning. We're here to rewrite the subconscious mind to match the vibration of our natural divine nature. And so many of us are on this path having a very strange experience of what I call egocentric surrender. Egocentric surrender is I just let go and I drift with the wind, and wherever I wind up, I guess is where I'm meant to be. It's kind of like you're the captain of a ship, you're in this really huge vessel, and you say, I'm not going to steer this, I'm just going to let the tides and the waters guide us where we're supposed to go. And then you drift off to some abandoned island, and you go, I guess this is where we're meant to be. No. This is where you end up if you let the ocean guide you. But you're the captain and you're here not to control the voyage, just steer the ship. So egocentric surrender is when we kind of let go and go, I'm just going to drift and meander, and wherever I wind up is where I'm meant to be. Okay, it's one way to do it. Where you're meant to be is where you guide this thing, and guiding the ship is rewriting your subconscious mind. You're not controlling the voyage, but you are navigating the waters with your choices. And the way we start doing that is by making the choice to make deposits of compliments into our emotional bank account to build up the equity. So when you start writing checks, your account can actually cash them and allow you to feel good about who you are instead of more self-defeated and sabotaging yourself on a subconscious level. Does that make sense? It's fascinating. And when you start to realize the way I treat other people is a way of practicing to make more deposits in my emotional bank account. I no longer treat people based on how they deserve to be treated. Like if someone's really not nice to you, there can be a societal thing of, oh, they're not nice to me. Well, then I withdraw my love from them until they've earned it. And if you live like that, you're refusing to make emotional deposits in your heart-centered bank account that doesn't allow you to make the kind of inspired choices that you want to make. So in the love revolution, we don't treat people in response the way they treat us. We empower ourselves to use opportunities with other people to make deposits in our emotional bank account. And the way you would act to make a deposit in your bank account by showing them more kindness and care than they're perhaps showing you, you're also increasing the likelihood that they will catch on to the vibration and begin treating themselves more so how you're treating them. So what helps to bring your emotional bank account into a proper balance is actually also helping to resolve the negative balance in the emotional bank accounts of all. And if you just think of it like that, like some of us might have a balance of $5, and the choices you're trying to make are like writing $300 checks. And the check's gonna bounce, which causes you to feel bad about yourself. And even if your ego is really kind of determined on the spiritual path, and you're always looking for what you need to improve on. See, that's one of the biggest illusions, is that an inferior ego thinks it's on a path of self-improvement. It thinks it is. It's the biggest facade. It thinks it's trying to improve, and it's going to do so by focusing on what it needs to do better. And there's no one who falls for that illusion more than the ego within that path. And they say, every day I'm going to look at what I do wrong and I'm going to try to improve my behavior. And all they're doing is writing checks their account can't cash and going negative, negative, negative. What it takes to get an inferior ego out of that negative space is to only focus on what you do right. And the fear is, if I only focus on what I do right, I might overlook something. I might become this crazy maniac drunk with power, doing all these things that I could be working on ad nauseum. But I'm just going to overlook the things I can see. An ego who feeds itself through inferiority is totally afraid to only focus on what they do right. Like, is afraid of how ridiculously they're going to act and how many people will be hurt if they stop trying to improve themselves. But even though the illusion or the theme is, I'm going to improve myself, what an inferior ego is actually doing is just finding new reasons to be ashamed of themselves. And energetically speaking, if you only focus on what you do right, you will raise your vibration so quickly that all of the actions you used to work on that require more attention and intensity won't match your new vibration and won't even arise in your behavior. So again, think of it this way. The choices you make every day to focus on what you're doing right, to speak kind words to yourself. If you can, speak kind words to others. These nice things. We're not doing it to prove anything to ourselves. We're doing it to build up the equity so that we can start writing checks from our emotional bank account and actually with effortless ease follow through with the action steps that will earn our own respect. So we have to give ourselves the reward before we're able to perform at a level that seems rewarding. Does that make sense? Think of it this way. We all do extraordinarily amazing things every day. Every day we do amazing things. But it's so natural to us, we don't take the time to feel good about it. I often call it the crime of the century. We do great things every day, but it doesn't register. Like you walk into a store and someone's there and you hold the door open for them. You opened the door and did something nice to them. And even if they don't acknowledge it, what if you acknowledge it and just said to yourself, hey, that was really nice of you. That was really nice of you. You're a really great person. And then someone might say, that's not authentic. That doesn't feel right. Why? Because their emotional bank account is in a negative balance. Saying something nice would take them from negative to still something negative, so it doesn't take you out of the negative into the positive. The subconscious mind says that doesn't work. But it always works. It just takes time. And to alleviate any misunderstanding about authenticity, talking to yourself nicely is not inauthentic, and here's how you know. Because most people will say, if I can't talk to myself and go from feeling crappy to feeling blissed out of my mind, right? If I can't go from hell to ayahuasca, right? If I can't do that in 3 seconds, then it's all doomed. That's like how impatient we are. Right? We're a little impatient. So, but here's how you know it's always authentic. I'm not saying, because again, inauthentic or lying to yourself or that fake it till you make it scenario is when you're pretending to feel the way you don't feel. None of us are pretending. I'm not saying pretend to feel happy. No, don't pretend at all. What I'm saying is authenticity is not about trying to pretend. Or even if you say the words to yourself and it's like, well, I'm not used to this. I'm not really feeling the power of those words yet. The way you know it's authentic isn't those nice words the way you want to be able to talk to yourself? Put aside if you can talk to yourself. Isn't that the way you want to be talked to by other people? Don't you want people to be nice to you? Don't you in a perfect world want to be nice to yourself? So talking to yourself nicely isn't inauthentic because you're saying, look, I want to talk to people this way. I want them to talk to me this way. The fact that I don't feel the juju in it is because my emotional bank account is crazy in the negative. I've racked up many penalties for my account being negative for so many days. I'm now consciously complimenting myself to take my balance from the negative into the clear. And the fact that it doesn't feel like I can really feel or believe those words is just the process of me rectifying my account balance. It's just actually working with your subconscious mind. Does that make sense? So you can say nice things to yourself and your body goes, I don't feel it, I don't believe it. And you go, of course not. I'm still in the negative, and we just work with it, and every day we find new ways to make complementary deposits into our heart. Right? We make deposits every day. No, we don't want any cash back. We let the account build. We build up the equity, just like you build up your account. And then one day you take yourself shopping, you go, oh my God, I can afford this all of a sudden. Oh my God, I never could afford this before. Just like spiritually, one day you'll walk around going, oh my God, I'm being loving to other people, loving to myself, and I'm not having to hate myself along the way. I'm not bullying myself, I'm actually doing it. So we make deposits. No, we don't want cash back. And we let the account build. By just saying beautiful, loving things to ourselves. Even if you're at a place of saying to yourself, I don't know how to be nice to myself. Just saying something that brutally honest is making a deposit. So even if you can't make a deposit, or if you feel like saying something so nice makes you feel kind of insecure or feels kind of dorky, Maybe saying, I love you to yourself just feels too, I don't know, too My Little Pony or something. too, right? For me, saying I love you is a beautiful thing. I mean, for me, I still do the I love you process, not because I'm a person who needs to. I literally, in the privacy of my home, do the I love yous for humanity. I do the I love yous for every soul in every dimension who doesn't know how to do it yet. I privately do these things for the world, not for myself. Right? Maybe for you, saying I love you or you're special, maybe that doesn't resonate. Maybe you still have that, right? Your account is such in the emotional negative place that your spiritual insight is now like taken over. I shouldn't have to say I love you to myself, right? I shouldn't have to. This is an outrage. Why should I say such nice things to myself? I should ignore myself and perform like a champion. This is an outrage. Talk to myself. Why should I do such a thing? Right? We're willing to sit on our head in yoga postures. We're willing to meditate for months on end, but saying something nice to yourself is the straw that breaks the camel's back. Are we for real? Are we for real in the spiritual reality? If I suggested something to you ridiculous, difficult, and just exaggerated, there would be a part of the ego that goes, that might just work. But if I say, why don't you be nice to yourself? Why don't you say some nice words to yourself? That's outrageous all of a sudden. That's unreasonable. I don't know about this Matt guy. He wants me to talk nice to myself. I don't know if I trust that guy. Like, what agenda do I have? Right? You talk nice to yourself. Your heart is the center of the universe. Talk nice to yourself. You're actually talking nice to all hearts because you are a manifestation of all hearts. So you saying something nice to yourself is filling goodness in every heart to raise the vibration of the planet. What agenda, other than bringing heaven to earth, is being translated here? There's nothing else going on. Just trying to interrupt your inner tirade of self-hatred so that you can bring your emotional bank account to a positive balance so then you can start writing checks that your heart's willing to cash. Doesn't that make a lot of sense? I certainly think it does. So here's the question you have to ask yourself. How much nicer to myself do I have to be in order to make the kind of choices that earn my respect? At a certain point, you get to a place where you've made so many deposits in your bank account, your balance is infinity, and you can't get any higher than infinity. And even if you write a check, the bank account is so high, the vibration is so high, it replenishes itself naturally. Kind of like a savings account where you could at a certain point live off of the interest and not even dip into the balance. At a certain point, you're just writing checks from the interest of your vibration. You're not even touching the balance. And so you still make deposits, but you're not making deposits for yourself. You're making it for other people whose bank accounts are obviously not in the positive direction. So instead of asking yourself, how conscious are you? Wrong question. Instead of asking yourself, how awake you are, wrong question. Ask yourself, and even instead of how loving are you willing to be, that's a great question, but the problem is trying to be loving a lot of the times is you trying to prove something to yourself by using other people instead of being nice to yourself. So the real question of love is not how much more loving can I be, but how nice of a person am I willing to become? And the first person in line for you to practice being nice to is you. It's you. Even just by looking in the mirror and saying, hi, I'd like to make a deposit. Don't want any cash back. Just want to give. Because inherently we're all awake beings using life to remember how masterful we are. Just like using this analogy, we're all emotional millionaires who have all forgotten our PIN. The money's in the bank. You forgot that 4-digit PIN, and there's a child in your heart that says, I remembered those numbers. How nice are you going to be to me before I give them to you? Oh, now the fun begins. The one thing that that little child in your heart has turns out to be everything. And you go, oh, hi, beautiful child. And he goes, oh, hi. Now you want to be nice to me because you know that I have what you want. Are you sure you want to talk to me? You don't want to go improve yourself anymore? Are you sure? You don't want to stand in your head for a couple more days? Really? Are you sure you want to talk to this little child in your heart, Miss Namaste? Rock superstar? Are you sure? Sure? It's not some message board you want to go on and yell at people behind your keyboard? Really? That's when your inner child smiles because it knows. It sits there. It's the consciousness of the whole universe. It is literally the higher self within you, inside you, masquerading as a child, just on the inside smiling, laughing to itself, just waiting. Waiting for you to go, oh. And it goes, yeah. It's like that. And the first couple times, when you take that emotional bank account from negative to a little bit negative, it's, I love you, and your inner child goes, whatever. Whatever. I'm nauseated by that. When you do it a few times, you go, it's not working. No, just keep doing it. Let the sarcasm of your inner child wear off, because it's just the sarcasm of it being put in the background for so long. And the first minute of you turning towards it, it gets a little disinterested because it goes, oh, now you want to embrace me. Now I get the love because I know your PIN code. Millionaire. Hilarious. So then you have to just kind of level with your inner child and go, look. Spend all my life in ego, which is kind of like, honestly, being an ego is like being energetically drunk. It's like if you went on a drinking binge and you were with some friends and you acted ridiculously, and then you wake up from that binge and you call your friends, you go, okay, look. Okay, I've reviewed the footage. I've reviewed my Twitter account. I was a maniac. I'm so sorry. That's like the conversation you have with your inner child, is you're coming into awakening. The best way I can describe it, without selling awakening, like you're going to be blissed, you're going to be peaceful, it's going to be great. Awakening is like spiritual sobriety. And you've been drunk for like 30 years. And you're talking to the child and you go, hi. Wow. I made quite a mess. Thank goodness you're still here. You've had a quite rough little child. I'm so sorry. I have been crazy. I've been drunk for 30 years, and you have not been treated properly. I am so sorry. Please, child. And this is what really works. Asking the inner child, can you help teach me how to love you? That's really amazing. You say to the child, look, I've been drunk on ego for 30 years. I've been on this wild ride. You child should know. I've been dragging you along for 30 years. Every spiritual whatever, and I need you, inner child. I need you, which the inner child is the costume the universe wears within you. So when you talk to your inner child, you're talking to the seed that becomes your higher self in form. You're talking to your higher self and you say, look, I need your help. It may have taken me 35 years to figure out that I don't know what the hell I'm doing at all. I need you to teach me how to love you because, one, you deserve to be loved more, not less. I deserve to have a little break from all of this. And I obviously don't know what I'm doing. So if you could teach me how to love you, I think you and I can come together and work together in a very peaceful way. And you can feel in your body how much shifts in that. And that shifts, your bank account and your emotional body starts to go from negative into a zero. A new 0-point field gets created. And then from there, you say the loving things that your innocence takes in. Every deposit starts to take you into the positive, and then naturally you can start writing the checks that brings your highest level of awareness into action. That's an easier way of thinking about how to raise your vibration. It's making peace with your innocence and say, hey, please, I want you, my higher self, dressed up as a child in my body, I want you to teach me how to live. Teach me how to love you. Teach me how to make decisions. You invite the innocence into your life, you're inspiring the universe to come alive within you. Even when you have a choice throughout the day, you ask your inner child, you ask your heart, hey, honey, which of these choices is in our best interest to make? Which of these would you do? And whatever it says to do, you just choose that. And you let your heart do the choosing. Even if it wants to make a choice impulsively just to see that it's able to without getting any kind of spiritual wrath from you. Like it has the right to say, do that without you sitting it down and going, okay, let's have a little conversation. That's not what we do. Yeah? And we don't have that passive-aggressive conversation with our inner child, where the child just like listens to the adult's words and silently thinks, I'm here to help you. Have you ever had that experience where an adult is talking to you, and even as a child, you have that impression of like, they don't know what they're talking about. And you're just listening, and you're nodding, not because it's been this most enlightening experience, but you're almost just trying to like, just give them the stage. They'll stop faster if you just agree with them. So it's like your inner child is just, yeah, okay, thank you for correcting me. Wow, so enlightening. Whatever. You have to go to your heart and say, I need you to help me. I don't know what I'm doing. And say to your inner child, even when I try to love you, I turn that into a spiritual form of nonsense. I sit there and I do the I love yous just waiting for cash prizes to erupt in my heart. Like sometimes we're not doing the I love yous from like the authentic place of like, I really deserve more love. I've been a maniac my whole life. I need to relax and love myself. It's like we're treating it like that arcade claw that we're trying to go and get that stuffed animal. Oh my God, I almost got it. And your inner child knows when you're loving for real or when you're using it like an arcade claw. Okay, I love you, I love you, I love you. Okay, where's my prize? Where's my prize? So you need to ask your inner child, can you teach me how to love you? Please. Because isn't it obvious that the one who's never been loved, the one who's waiting to be loved, is going to know the magic recipe of how it needs to be loved? So you say, inner child, tell me the words you want me to say. If I love you, nauseate you. Maybe you heard those words from people in the past who totally betrayed you, so there's an association. Like your inner child remembers, last time someone said that to us, they left. And that's real serious. So you say to your inner child, if the words aren't I love you, you tell me the words you need to hear. And you tell me the tone of voice you want me to speak it. And you tell me all the ways you want to be a part of my life. And what you're doing is you're talking to the innocence of your heart, which is really inviting the universe to awaken in your being and to work through you on your behalf. So if you want to be aligned with your higher self and you want to let the highest aspect of truth work through you, invite the inner child to teach you how to live. And that emotional bank account goes from being way deficient to overly abundant and prosperous.